I want to talk about spiritual gifts, which I know already puts me in like a subset of Christianity because there's a lot of people out there who seem to act like anything spiritual is this weirdness, but it's really hard to read the Bible, especially the New Testament, and discount the Holy Spirit's activity and spiritual involvement and spiritual gifts. The problem is the way we look at it and read it and understand it. Because scholars centuries ago have identified there are 9 distinct spiritual gifts highlighted in the New Testament. And yet, for some stupid reason, we then turned around and said, okay, these are the 9 gifts. And you can go and find, quizzes out there to help you identify which gift you have out of these 9. And some of them will even let you find a primary and a secondary gift. But everything is these 9 gifts, like these personality profiles. But I have no idea why we do that. Because you know what? The Bible also lists out sins a number of times. I don't even know of anybody ever counting up how many sins are listed out. And we're certainly not saying, well, these are the list of sins. And you know what? If you manage to do something that's not in this list, I guess it's not a sin and you're good to go. But that's just not happening because we know darn well that those lists of sins are examples. They're, illustrations, they're categories, however you want to think about it. He's describing what sin is like, and yet when it comes to the spiritual gifts, instead we completely flip the switch and say, oh no, this is the list of gifts, as opposed to saying, this is how God works, this is how he gives gifts, and you'll see these kind of things happening. Because, I don't know, do we really think that people are more creative than God? Because somehow we think that, there's a lot more that would be sin that's not in this list. And it's like, yeah, humans have come up with more ways to sin than just what was written down. But somehow we don't think that God can come up with more ways to give gifts than what was written down. And you've got to recognize other things as gifts. And it's like, and we do, even as a society we do. You can take the Bible and Christianity completely out of the narrative, and we talk about, a gifted artist, and that could be acting, singing, dancing, painting, sculpting, whatever, anything you call as art, we will, talk about a gifted artist. We'll talk about a gifted athlete. And, people can be, a gifted mathematician, a gifted computer programmer. Like, there's stuff out there that, that we know these are gifts. And yet the church is so quick to discount them and act like that, oh, well, nope, it's not one of these gifts. And because the Bible didn't say, he gifted some with math, we don't think that that person is gifted of God. And yes, he is. That's where the gifts come from. And it's just, not only are we shortchanging ourselves by saying, oh, well, this gift doesn't count as a real gift, it's like we're hurting people. Because in several ways, we're hurting the church's mission because we're leaving a lot on the table. There are a bunch of gifts that God has given that we're acting like, oh, well, no, that's not one of the real gifts. Fine, figure out how to do one of these ones and we'll count it as a gift. Meanwhile, God has given this vast arsenal of different kind of gifts for us to be able to use. And, New Testament talks a lot about how all the parts fit together and benefit each other. And how much benefit are we missing from all those different gifts that could be coming into play? But then look at the individual, because honestly, one of the greatest things that can happen, for an individual Christian, one of the best things for your walk with Christ is to actually lean in and use your gift and see God using your gift. That's a life-changing experience when you get to do that. And when we try to tell people, well, it's got to be one of these things or it doesn't count, then we've got a lot of people that are never really leaning into what their gift is. And so probably a bunch of them don't go any farther than that. It's like, oh, well, I guess, never mind, I won't bother. But then, or maybe some of them are trying to hammer their own square peg into one of our round holes and say, I got to figure out how to do this. And instead of it being this life-giving thing for them, it's a drudgery and it's a challenge and a chore. And that's not right. And there are so many things, like maybe that truly gifted skateboarder, God gave him that gift on purpose because that's going to put that person in, different situations. It's going to open doors for them and give them connections with other people that the other Christians, the people who are leaning into these 9 gifts, are never going to be in that same situation. And we need to let that skateboarder recognize this as a gift from God, thank God for it, lean into it like that, and let God use it. And then as the church, we need to acknowledge it and celebrate it as this is what God is doing. This is a gift that God has given this person, because that then takes the next person who's got some other random gift that doesn't fit the Bible list, and it lets them say, like, this is a gift and I can use this for God. And that is how all the pieces of the body fit together. There are not 9 parts of the body that, that this is all you need. There's so much to it. And God is more creative than just 9 pieces. We need to recognize and value and use all of the gifts. That's why we have them. That's why God gave gifts, and he gave a lot of gifts. Don't shortchange yourself because you don't fit a list. Don't discount someone else because they don't fit a list. Thank God for your gift. Like how you're wired, God's the one that wired you that way. Lean into it and he will use it.